Hello everybody, hope you all are doing good out there today. In this video we are going to be doing a comparison of two case medium Stockmans, and on top of that, both of these Stockmans are going to be square bolstered Stockmans. One of my favorite aspects about the traditional knife world is the unique characteristics between the different models, because practically you really only need one medium Stockman. But when you really start thinking about it and collecting them and learning about them, you realize why there's wider ones, longer ones, skinnier ones, different blades in the knives, and all this. Case has a lot of medium Stockmans. They've got the 44, the 087, the 18, the 032, and they've had more in the past that fit into that category. Some would even place the 47 in that category. But today, we're going to take a look at two square bolstered medium Stockmans. I really enjoy comparing different knives to see how similar they are to each other and how different they are from each other. And these are two knives that I really like. They're both really great. So let's take a look at them here. The first one here is going to be the case 44 pattern. This one is in Rogers Jig Blue Bone. You can see you got your bow tie shield there. It says Case USA on it. And then there's a little star in the middle between the two. Of course, you got a bolster on each end like a normal Stockman. You got your brass pins. You're going to have two back springs. And one unique oddity on the 44 pattern, at least on the newer 44 patterns, let me specify. You see this liner going down the middle? There are two brass liners put together. Now, I don't know exactly why they have started doing that. If you know why, comment down below. The 33 Stockman, which is a small version of this knife, the older ones, like the one I have, has a single liner going between the back springs, and the newer ones have two. So why they added another, I really don't know, because for years the knife only had one. It looks like it would cost them more to add two. Plus, I think having two in there would cause them to have to bend the sheep's foot blade at a steeper angle, if I'm thinking about it right. So I don't understand why they did that. If you all know, let me know. Nevertheless, this knife does have two back springs with liners in between the back springs. And then, of course, you got your Rogers Jig pattern on the back. This blue bone can vary a lot. This particular one is pretty even, except for this little bit of white here, and this is more uncommon. Usually there's more color difference in these knives. This 44 pattern right here is an 2023 model. I had gotten this one used. It was without the box, but the knife had never been used. So it was, I guess, new and used condition, if that's the way to say it. The knife that we are going to be comparing it to today is this Case 032 pattern Stockman. This one is an amber bone, and it's got the classic Case, I believe they call that the script shield. I think I've also heard it called the scroll shield, but it's just your classic Case shield right there. You're again going to have your two back springs, but notice you're just going to have one liner down the middle of this knife, and this knife is known for being about the thinnest you can make a Stockman and still have it function. Just got that one liner. Another unique difference, at least that kind of sticks out to me, is the thickness of the springs. If you look at them on this 44, they're just about the same thickness. They might be the exact same thickness. But on this 32 here, you can see that on the left spring that works the main blade, it is wider than the spring on the right that works the other two blades. So that's kind of interesting. Again, you got your three brass springs and your bolster on each end. This amber bone is darker than most of the amber bones out there. I got this knife used at a pawn shop and cleaned it up. This particular knife was made in 2016, as you can see. Another difference between these two knives is that this blue 44 pattern is in stainless steel. You can see how shiny that blade is. And this 032 pattern on the bottom is in Case's older CV steel. So now for the comparison. Two medium Stockmans, these knives cost about the same price. Why would I buy one over the other? Well, let's look at some of the differences. Neither knife is going to have half stops. They're both going to be just smooth, open all the way. You can also see that they both have a clip blade. Let me readjust that camera a little bit. Here we go. That might give a better perspective. They're both going to have these clip blades. Now, you're going to notice the 32 is a slightly bigger knife. The handle is longer and the blade's a little longer, but the blade is not wider. From the tip of the edge to the back of the spine, it is not wider than the 44. The 44 has this cool point on the top of the blade, and I think that really makes the blade look cool. You also have a pretty extreme sweep coming from the edge up to the tip, and I think the 44 just has a really cool looking blade. It looks really nice. Now, the 032 has more of what I would say is a traditional, kind of a mild clip point blade. You've got your point, but the point is not as pronounced. Also, the nail nick is back a little further to the pivot, where it's more in the center of the blade on the regular 44. Besides that, the 44 has a larger ricasso there, where you see Case XX stamped where the tang is. You're also going to notice that the blade is just shorter. It's a smaller knife. These are both medium Stockmans, but the 44 is a little smaller version. Now, one thing interesting about the 032 Stockman is that it shares a brother called the Texas Jack. They're going to have the same frame, but the Texas Jack is going to be a two-bladed knife with a main clip point and a secondary pin blade. This particular one's from 2001. They have changed the blade design just slightly on it since then, but nevertheless, these two knives are brothers. And if you look at some of Case's older knives, they also used to make the 44 in a pin knife version, though they don't make that at the present time in 2025. As for the secondary blades, it's going to be the sheep's foot. The 44 has the most interesting looking sheep's foot, I think. The 032 has kind of a plain Jane sheep's foot, a very useful shape. It's the same sheep's foot, as far as I can tell, that you're going to find on the 18 pattern Stockman. Here is an 18 pattern Stockman for comparison. You can see the sheep's foot look basically identical. But this 44 has a unique looking sheep's foot. Notice it gets wider as it goes toward the tip. And I've heard some people refer to this as a ram's foot. If you have any of Case's 68 pattern Congresses that they made in 2023, they have a similar shaped blade, but they're not as robust as this 44 is. There you can see your pattern number and everything, 6344, stainless steel, USA. Now, one thing I do like, where this gets wider at the end, if you're going to be using it like cutting through boxes or something, it really puts that tip down good. It kind of makes it, it makes you not have to hold the angle of the knife as steep to get a good cut. But you're going to notice that it has a shorter blade, again, than the 032. The 032 has a larger, longer blade. But the 032 blade is flat all the way down through it. Really, when it comes down to it, this is just a matter of preference. Which style of blade do you prefer? You can see I got some serious patina on this sheep's foot blade. Smooth as can be, but I ate an apple with it the other day. And again, you're going to see your item number there. I got some patina down in that 6. I need to clean that off. 63032 CV steel. Again, if you take into account the length of the handle and the length of the blade, the 032 is just a bigger knife. Now for our last blade on these knives. It's going to be the pin blade. And I know there's a lot of us out there who on a Stockman prefer to have a pin blade over a spade blade. And both of these knives are going to give you the pin blade. First thing you're going to notice again is the size. Again, the 44 is just a slightly smaller knife than the 032 is. See if I can get the camera to stop trying to focus there. It's going in and out for some reason. Nevertheless, the pin blade on the 44, you can see the tip's basically just right in the center, and it's got a good pronounced tip. This tip is sharp for a pin blade. This blade's a good size too. It's certainly big enough for a pin blade. You know, if you're holding a knife, lay your finger out for a depth gauge, cutting into a box or something. It's the perfect size, perfect length, fits the handle well, looks good. Also, you can see there that this got stainless steel stamped on this blade also. Now the 032, again, the tip is going to be about right in the center of the blade, kind of like a spear point. But also, it's not quite as sharp, I don't think. It's not quite as pokey. It's still plenty pokey enough, but it's not quite as pokey as the 44. There you can see the stamp CV. And again, you can see the patina on the back of this knife. So again, it's just a matter of one's bigger than the other and one's smaller. I think if I was going to characterize these knives, the easiest way to do it would be to simply say, this one is more unique and more extreme, and this one is simpler and more conservative. Now, let's weigh these knives real quick, and then after we weigh them, I'll tell you the measurements, and then we'll end out. And I'm going to tell you why I would buy one over the other. Let's see if I can get this on the right mode. We'll put it on ounces there. There we go. The 032 weighs 2.20 ounces. The 44 weighs 1.60 ounces. So again, you're saving a lot of weight with this 44. Now, when the knives are closed, this 032 is going to be 3.5 inches long, roughly. And this one's going to be around 3.25 inches long, roughly. They can vary a little bit from knife to knife, but that's the rough estimates. So why would I buy one of these over the other? Simple answer. What are you looking for? What are you looking for? This 032, if you really like a thin knife, you're never going to find a thinner Stockman that's functional than this one. You can take the 18 pattern Stockman, which is about the same size. If you compare their thickness to each other, you can see the 032 here on the left is just extremely thin. To compare it to the 44, you can see it's thinner than the 44. Not by a lot, but it is a little thinner. So if you're looking for a thin knife, get the 032, you'll love it. But here's the big but. If you're somebody that blade rub really bothers you on a Stockman, then you absolutely do not want the 032. Because this knife is so thin, the blades are going to rub against each other. Look how tight they've got these blades packed in here. I mean, they are packed in there tight. You are going to get blade rub on an 032. I've never seen one that doesn't have it. It's going to get it. And if that's something that bothers you, then you don't want the 032. The blade rub is going to be much more minimalized in the 44 pattern. You're still going to get it because it's a Stockman. And you can see those blades are touching each other and they're close to the liners. So you're still going to get blade rub, but you won't get it to the degree that you will get it on this 032. Now, one more benefit for each, then we'll end out this video. One of the benefits of the 032, from my experience, is that it has stronger back springs. If I was going to rate the weight it takes, it's probably a 5 or a 6. Now, in comparison, this 44, the springs on this would probably be a 3 or a 4. They are strong enough. See, they spring right back like they ought to, function as they ought to. But they are a little bit weaker. Not enough to cause a problem. They're still stronger than any buck Stockman I've ever seen. Bucks have weak springs, but they are not quite as strong as the 032 pattern. Now, why I think that is, and this is interesting, is if you look at the wideness of the body on these knives, you'll see this 032 is a lot wider from the back spring to where the blades come out than this 44. But if you'll remember earlier, we said that the blade was not any shallower. The blades are about the same width from blade to stock as they are with each other. And because of that, when they fold down into the handle, that means that this 44, his edge is going to be a lot closer to the bottom of that back spring when you close it. And so I think Case put a lighter spring on this knife to keep from getting severe blade wrap. Now, I might be wrong, but I think that's why they did it. Where on this 032, there's going to be more room between the bottom of the blade and the back spring, so it doesn't make much difference. So in closing, you'll notice also there's a different shape. This 44 has an even shape all the way down through, just a nice even curve, whereas this 032, the 44 is a nice even curve. The 032 has more of what we call a serpentine shape. It's just a matter of looks. I don't think it affects the way it feels in the hand much any. So when it comes down to it, which one's better? Well, just whichever one I prefer. They're both nice knives, and they're both beautiful knives. I probably like the 032 a little more, but at the same time, I tend to carry the 44 more. So it's kind of a toss-up. Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good day. Keep your knives sharp.